When you do this, like, you will never get errors of null pointers, or at least you can reduce the same. We will go to Java best practices now without losing the time. First, we will see some of the bad practices which we make. Duplicating the code. So instead of copy pasting the same lines of code at multiple places in the same program, which is a bad practice, suppose you want to reuse some lines of code, then take that lines of code and put it in a method and use that method in different places in your program. So that is a good way. Using accessible fields. So normally in Java, like, fields should always be private except for the constants. If you want to access a field in Java, try to access it using a getter method rather than accessing it directly. So always try to use getter and setter methods as a convention. Using magic numbers. So we try to avoid using magic numbers and instead replace it by a constant. In the for loop, you can see I have replaced this number 52 by a constant final int deck size equal to 52. Because in this way the code becomes more readable and the chances of errors is reduced. So whenever you try to modify deck size, you don't have to modify the for loop again and again. Otherwise you have to modify the magic number again and again, which is not a good practice. Then using temporary fields. So we should try to use using lot of temporary fields within a program. Then initializing the strings with new. See, whenever in Java programs you need lot of string variables. So we can directly use string str equal to the value instead of using string str equal to new string value. Because with every new operator you use lot of memory, which is not a good practice. So it is a wastage of memory resources using lot of new operator unless it is needed. Using float and double for currency calculations. So we should try to avoid this. Returning null. So instead of returning null, you can return an empty object or you can return a custom made null object. Because if you directly return null value, then you can get null pointer exceptions. So the best way is, like, suppose you have an object, then you can return new of that object instead of returning null null keyword, because it may lead to null pointer exception. If you see in the above example. We'll go to the next slide. Subclassing for functionality. So instead of using lot of subclasses, we can try to use interfaces for inheritance. Because what may happen that suppose you already have a subclass, a class A extends class B. Now you cannot use class C because you cannot extend two classes at the same time. So it's better to use interface because you can implement multiple interfaces at the same time, but you cannot extend multiple classes at the same time. So try to use as many interfaces as possible instead of using lot of subclasses. Another bad practice is using empty catch block. Never leave a catch block empty. Inside the catch block, always have e.print stack trace or return sysout e.get message or something like that. Never have an empty catch block. So sometimes we try to use try catch exceptions even when it is not needed. See, only use try catch exceptions when there is a purpose for it. If you see in the current example, there is no need to use try catch. Instead, you can use if and check if the index is less than 0 or if index is greater than equal to array size. So sometimes you can use the if condition rather than using try catch. Try catch is only needed when there are chances of really getting an exception. Excessive use of switches. So try to use excessive switch case and if.
Hello.
Because if you try to use lot of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Satyarth. Actually, a lot of participants are asking questions. So I thought now you
Okay.
should answer some of the questions here only.
Okay. Yeah.
Jay Sakoswar is asking, can we say that Java is a pure object-oriented language? So would you like to answer this
Yeah.
question?
See. Yeah. Or can we take all the questions at the end because we have lot of slides to cover in 1 hour.
Okay. Also try to be a little explanative. I mean, explain the points in a better way. So
Sure.
that,
Sure.
yeah, sure. Please
Sure.
go ahead. Yeah.
So one of the bad practices is excessive use of switches. So we should try to use if and switch only when it is needed. Otherwise, we can consider polymorphism. That is, we can use the same method and we can overload it. So if you have in a single method, if you are using lot of switch case and lot of if statement, nested if, we can try to avoid that and instead we can overload that method. That is using the method polymorphism. Instance of. Try to avoid using this instance of operator. Static methods. See, static methods are needed when you are directly trying to access a method without creating an instance of the class. But it's not a very good design to always use the static methods because static methods cannot be overridden and cannot be overloaded. So only use the static methods when you are sure that you don't want to overload that method. I mean override that method. System.exit. Sometimes we make use of system.exit, but it should not be used in general because the whole program will get exited. System.exit you can only place, suppose in a try catch block, when there is an exception inside the catch block, you can place system.exit. In case the exception is very severe and it is a showstopper and you are sure you want to exit the program. We'll see some of the good practices in core Java. Validating your parameters. See, whenever you use parameters in a method or in a function in Java, it's a good practice that you always try to validate that parameter, like if that parameter is not null, or suppose if you are using an array and an index, so that array is not null or that index does not exceed the size of the array. So it's a good practice to validate your parameters before using them inside a method. Otherwise, you will get lot of null pointer exceptions and illegal argument exceptions and so on. So creating local copies. See, in the current scenario, if you see the code, I create a local copy. So inside the method, we try to create local copies of array list and objects and try to work on that copy, modify those values and reuse it. So this is a good way to prevent corruption. Because local variables and local copies cannot be accessed by outside classes. Modify the strings with string builder. Remember that string objects are immutable. That is, you cannot modify a string object. But string builder is mutable. That is, string builder objects you can modify. So whenever you use lot of string objects, you are wasting lot of memory resource. Because every time you try to modify a string object, you create a new instance of the string object, which may lead to out of memory errors also. So whenever you are dealing with lot of string objects, instead try to use string builder objects. Because there you can modify the string builder objects without using new memory locations. Favoring immutability. So immutability is something where nobody can modify your variables or objects. You can achieve immutability by making your fields in Java as private and final. So suppose you have a private final string x equal to Java. So that is a string which cannot be modified in an entire application. Also, one way to incorporate immutability in Java program is to providing only the getter methods and not the setter methods. Because if there is no setter methods for the outside world, then nobody can modify your variable or an object. Using final keyword. So whenever you are sure that your variables or parameters need not change in the program scope, you can use the final keyword by default. Always make it a habit to use final whenever there is no scope for that variable getting changed. Declare a variable just before the use. It's always a good practice to declare a variable and also initialize it before actually using it in the program, because it's easier to read that variable and refactor it. So always remember, whenever you use any variable or an object, first declare it and initialize it to a default value or say a null value before actually using it. So we should always try to initialize the variables whenever possible. Following the coding conventions. So if we follow the code conventions, see in Sun Java website, we see standard coding guidelines for Sun Java programmers. So if we try to follow the coding conventions and the Sun Java code guidelines, then it makes your program to be easily read and easily maintainable, and there are less chances of bugs. If a program is easy to read and easy to maintain, then of course there are less chances of getting the bugs, and changing the program in future is also an easy task. See, referring to the objects by interfaces. Instead of declaring an array list as array list equal to new array list, the good practice is using list equal to new array list, because list is an interface and array list is the class which implements the list interface. So we should always refer the object by interfaces rather than referring the object by class. Considering using enums instead of constants. Instead of using too many constants in your program, you can use an enum, because it's easy to use, and then in a single program, enum is a separate class. So in the future, suppose you want to add more constants or more values, you can always add in the enum without changing the actual program. Closing your input-output streams. See, whenever you try to use any file input-output streams in your program, always make sure to include the finally block in your program and close that input-output stream. Because if you open an input-output stream and forget to close that stream, it is a wastage of memory resource and it's a bad practice. So always try to close the stream in a finally block, because you know that in try catch finally, irrespective of what happens in try, you are always sure that your file streams, input and output streams are closed. Designing close to domain. So try to name your packages, try to name your classes with what you are making an application. Suppose your application is a banking application. So you can try to name your classes in the bank name dot something and the package name accordingly. So your class names, your interface names and your package names should reflect the type of the project you are doing. So another good practice is whenever you override equals method, you always override hash code method also. So always make sure that whenever equals return to true, the two objects must have the same hash code. So it's a good programming practice to always override both equals and hash code. Because if you try to override equals method in your program and forget to override hash code method, it will give errors. especially in the scenarios when you are using maps and sets type of data structures. Writing self-documenting code. Whenever you write a Java code, try to give as many relevant comments as possible, because it makes your code easy to read and easy to understand. The comments can be class level comments as well as method level comments. So that's why it's a good practice to use Java doc at the beginning of every class and at the beginning of every method. Bubbling up the exceptions. See, if the code is not part of the user interface, it should not handle its own exceptions. So there is the good practice is you always try to throw the exceptions back to the UI and cache that exception in form of a pop-up, in form of an error page, or try to log that exception in a log file or show in the console. But never leave an exception unattended. Always try to catch it and display it as in form of an error page or a pop-up back to the presentation layer. Don't try to consume that exception within your business layer, because then how will the user know what exception occurred? Now we will come to see some of the best sites for Java examples, for code samples,